Tonight it's about comfort food. We've got Meatloaf for me, Meatloaf for Joe, and stay tuned because I have a new food find for all us whole food plant-based eaters. See you soon. Hi, welcome back to One Dish, Two Ways. I'm Sheila and Joe's behind the camera. We are a family of two because we are empty nesters and I eat whole food plant-based diet because I've cured my migraines with that diet, and Joe eats a standard American diet. And so we want to teach people that it's really not that hard to eat in the same household. And so we show you dishes that are one dish and we make it two different ways for us and then how we serve those dishes. So tonight is meatloaf or eat loaf in my situation. So this is going to be fun. Now these do take an hour, both at 350 degrees take an hour. So we're actually going to put them all together, then put them in the oven, and then we'll come back and show you everything. So we're going to start with the spices. Now I have Googled these two recipes. Meatloaf is a pretty basic recipe, but I did want to get something off the internet for you. But I'm going to use the same spices for both. So I'm going to have the links to both the recipes and then what the adaptions is I made. The Eat Loaf is a Plant Strong podcast or blog. And the recipe is for the mashed potatoes and mushroom gravy and the Eat Loaf. I'm only making the Eat Loaf. So I will make sure I say that in the description when I have the link. So let's start with spices and then we'll get into all the details. So we're going to do a teaspoon of black pepper in bowl. So in this bowl, I've got 1 can of, well, actually I made them and then froze them. These are just white beans. And then this is red kidney beans. This can was no salt and I did rinse them really well before I added them here. These are just huge lima beans. It called for Great Northern beans. Well, it's just white beans. And then oats. 1 cup of oats. This one has the hamburger, but I haven't added anything else to it yet, because I want to talk about that. So let's start with the spices. So we're going to add a teaspoon of pepper to both. We're going to add a teaspoon of paprika to both. I will say, growing up, meatloaf and pot roast and spaghetti were probably, that's a lot, probably my 3 favorite meals. Yeah, I'm anxious to have Eat Loaf. And 1 teaspoon of sage. I make a really good, years ago, I invented a recipe after watching Rachel Ray. And it's a Thanksgiving one where I use ground turkey meat and a package of stuffing. That's really good too. Maybe one of these times we can somehow make that where I can make one too. And then onion powder. We've got a teaspoon of each for each of our dishes. So that takes care of our spices, except in mine, I also need a 1/2 cup of nutritional yeast. So I'm pouring that in there. And then for my liquid, I need a 1.5 teaspoons of tamari. There we go. And for Joe's, he needs 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce. I'm going back and forth, so it'll be easier when I have to mix them all. So 2 tablespoons. Now, his also needs oats. You can do breadcrumbs or you can do oats. I had oats today, and I wanted to show you that the recipe called for quick oats. Well, I don't keep quick oats in the house. I keep old-fashioned oats because all you have to do is pulse these twice and they become quick oats. Only thing quick oats is just rolled oats that they've just pulsed a little bit so they're smaller pieces so it doesn't take as long to cook. That's all it is. So that's what I did here. And it's 1-to-1. So it's 3/4 cup. I got 3/4 cup, pulsed it a few times, still got 3/4 cup. So I'm going to add that there. And then I, ahead of time, cooked up a bunch of veg. I did it ahead of time, number 1, so that you didn't have to watch me stir-fry veggies on camera, but 2, that it was cool enough that I could mix it with all of this. So this is 1 onion, 2 carrots, 1 bell pepper, and mushrooms. And that's all that's in here. And I just cooked them for about 10 minutes and then let them cool so I could actually touch this. So this is the mixture for mine. And for Joe's, he also has a pound and a half of hamburger in here, and he needs 1 egg and 1/3 cup of milk. And so I just need to beat that egg a little bit. Yep. Yeah, you don't want to you want to beat the egg before you put it in your mixture. And then stick it in there. So that's perfect. And it needs onion. It does need a little vegetable, but I wanted to show you the onion and what I did. This is my tip, is I took a small onion and then I grated it. And the reason I did that is Joe doesn't want the big hunk of onion in this particular dish. When you grate it, I find that it kind of melts more into the meatloaf, but it also gives it more moisture than if you just chopped it up. And because this veggie isn't cooked ahead like mine, that's why I wanted to do this and show this tip and trick to you. So let me get this onion in there. I don't know, I just think for a meatloaf, if you're not going to pre-cook the veg, so some of that didn't get chopped up very good, this just adds so much moisture to it. Because nobody wants a dry meatloaf. That's just gross. Okay, so that's it. And I'll save that other onion part for in a little bit. Okay, so let's get our hands dirty a little bit here. So for mine, it calls for barbecue sauce on the bottom of a loaf pan. And so I've put 1/4 cup. I'm not using as much. It calls for a whole cup total for the recipe on the barbecue sauce. I'm cutting that in half. I'm going to do 1/4 cup on the bottom and I'm going to do 1/4 cup on the top. So let me get my hands in here. The main thing I want to do in addition to mixing this up is I want to smush those beans up some. You could do that ahead of time while you're waiting on your veggies to cool, because I don't want those big portions of I want them to all meld together. So that's why I'm going to make sure that I am squishing. You could do this with a spoon if you wanted. Sometimes it's just easier to get your hands in there and start working it. So that's what we're going to do. So while I do this, let's talk about mashed potatoes, meatloaf in general. So how do you normally do it? Are you ground beef? Do you like to do ground chicken? Do you like to grill ground turkey? Or do you do something like this where it's more like a bean loaf? They call it eat loaf, which I love the pun on that, but I mean, it really is. What is it? Bean and veggie loaf is what it really ultimately is. But you see, this is all coming together really nicely. What's wrong?
None. Like you said, you can actually mold it into a loaf. Yeah.
And the recipe said to just keep mixing it until it becomes kind of sticky and it'll smush together. So I'm just trying to get more. And you could actually, if you wanted to in your food processor, you could pulse the beans too. That would work. I didn't want to have to clean the food processor, so I'm using my hands. So yeah, this is coming together nicely. Joe's never seen me make this before, so this is new to him. Well, I think that's about as good as I'm going to get it. And it's going to take an hour to cook, so I want to get this going. So I'm going to start pressing it into this loaf pan. I love the colorful veggies. I purposely chose a yellow onion so it offset with that orange carrot. So you see, I still got the kidney beans, aren't as mushed, but that's okay. This is going to be awesome sauce. So it says just to mush it, pat it down so you have a flat surface for your next round of barbecue sauce. So let me wash my hands real quick. Okay, so I've got, here's a little bit more. I've got 1/4 cup measured out of the barbecue sauce. Now this barbecue sauce is another thing, kind of like the crackers. Hard to find without oil in them, but there's more and more out there. And so I have this Stubbs that I have found. I think I watched another YouTuber and they found it, because it used to be I could only get it at Farm and Fleet, right? that one barbecue sauce, but this one. So I cut down the barbecue sauce just because I just don't need all that sugar. So that's why I cut it down, but you could definitely, so there you go. You could add, should be a half cup. I just went with a fourth cup. Okay, so mine's going to take 350 for an hour. So let me just sit this off to the side. And now let's put Joe's together. Now, I don't have another loaf pan, so I'm just going to mold his in here, and that's going to be just fine. So let's just mix this up. Same thing, just sometimes it's easier just to get in there and do it. So fun tip about meatloaf. You know, everybody, when you come into a marriage, you know, your families did things one way, and then you come together, and you know, first time you make a dish, and you're like, why did you do that? Because I don't like that. Meatloaf was that for us, because Joe does not like the ketchup on the top. We always had the ketchup on the top, so I made meatloaf for the first time. Put that ketchup on there. He's like, yeah, don't do that again. He does not like that at all. So the recipe calls for the ketchup on the top. We will not be doing that because Joe does not like that. So FYI, this is the next step after you mold this would be to do the ketchup, but he doesn't want barbecue sauce, nothing. That is another tip. You could always mix barbecue sauce, ketchup, or ketchup and hot sauce if you kind of want to make it a little bit different, or try to use up things in your fridge. Remember, I'm always telling you, use things up in your fridge. Adapt. It's not going to hurt anything. Let me wash my hands from this.
Now, we never use ketchup because we all like the crispy crust you get on the meat. And if you have that ketchup on there, it keeps it kind of moist, but it also, you lose out on that nice, good crust you get on the top.
And that's what I liked about the ketchup on the top, because the ketchup got kind of crispy. So it's just funny. Every marriage, you always have one thing that you just didn't realize were different. Both of these will bake uncovered for 1 hour. Then I'll let them rest a little bit. And then when we come back, I'm going to show you how we're going to serve it. Because I have another tip for you, something I just discovered in the last couple of weeks. See you in a bit. Welcome back. It has been about an hour and 10 minutes. So it cooked for an hour, and then we let them rest for about 10 minutes. And this is what we have. So this is the Meatloaf. So this got the veggies and the beans and the oatmeal. And then this is Joe's standard American meatloaf. We've got salads as one of our sides. And then our other side is what I was so excited to tell you guys about, which is mashed potatoes. Now, we are filming this during the week, which we normally do not do because we just ran out of time on the weekend. So I had spent a lot of time doing this. And then while this was in the oven, I did a little meal prep because it's Thanksgiving week and I've got family coming in town. Hence why my hands are red. I was pickling some beets while, so I had a lot going on while we were doing all this. But someone, and I don't remember what Facebook group I was in, said that potato flakes are a whole food. And I was like, no way. I looked at the back, no lie. All it's in it is dehydrated potatoes. I'm like, this is fantastic. So this is going to be so helpful on nights like tonight. And now you might say, but Sheila, they have milk. They do. But we can use non-dairy milk, which is soy milk. And then in Joe's portion, I will add butter to his portion. And that way we've got mashed potatoes ready to go that we can both eat. And then he just adds butter to his, and that will be perfectly fine. So the nice thing is you can do these in the microwave or on the stovetop. So of course I chose the microwave. Super easy. You just heat up the milk. You heat up the water in the microwave. You can do the butter and all that, but of course I'm not doing the butter. And then you just let them sit, and then you get mashed potatoes. I mean, it's that simple. Like, it's so exciting when something is actually that simple. So I'm going to put mashed potatoes on my plate. Maybe they should have sat just a little bit longer, but it's okay. We're hungry. Did you want to add some butter to yours while oh, okay. He says not right now. Okay, so let's dish mine out. My gosh, I'm so excited for this. I just love, it's always been a good comfort food is meatloaf. Of course, this is Meatloaf. Oh, looks so good. Joe's will be this. Is that a big enough piece, honey?
No.
Okay. Looks like, okay. So now, oh, we need forks. Now let's try. Yeah, I guess I should have added, I must have, you know, that's something I should have thought about. When you do this, it calls for the butter. I didn't add the butter, but I added all the liquid. So I probably added more liquid. That's why they aren't as firm. Because the other day when I made them for Joe, I didn't make any for me. They came out great, but I added the butter. So don't do what I did. Yes, pepper. That's the other thing I wanted to add. We are pepper people in this house. So most people come over and they're like, which one is the pepper is the salt? Well, the peppers usually got holes that we cut into it, which are bigger. So let's give this a try. Mm.
Ooh, hot.
Mine is good. Do you want to try mine?
Nope.
Okay. This is really good. I wish I would have crushed the kidney beans just a little bit more. But other than that, this actually has a very close texture to meatloaf. Now, obviously, if I were to put it in a sandwich, it would, you know, collapse a little bit like a veggie burger or bean burger does. But this is really good, and it does have all the flavors with the sage and the barbecue sauce. Because, like I said, I liked the ketchup on it when I was a kid. So, this is good. Good?
Yeah, it's good. Just the way it is. I've never had it with oatmeal in it. You never know the difference.
You could blend the oatmeal a little bit more. They said in the comments for that recipe was that could change the texture a little bit too much. And so that's why I just did the quick oats per the recipe.
Now, hers definitely has almost the same texture.
Mm-hmm.
But
so there you go. It's not that hard. You can do this. You can make one dish 2 ways. And we hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving. And we'll see. Well, then, well, I don't know if it'll be this video or not. But one of the videos, we're going to have 2 special guests. So stay tuned. Have a great week, everybody.